Welcome to the Mind Your Reality podcast, where we discuss the power of the human mind, theories about the true nature of reality, and tools for manifesting the life you desire to experience. I am your host, Tanya Kotsos, the author of the award-winning book, The Adventure of I, and of the Mind Your Reality website. Seeing that this is the first episode of the podcast, it is something of an introduction to Mind Your Reality, which is a product of my studies spanning more than 20 years now on mind power, the universal laws, the nature of reality, and tools for manifesting. In this episode, I will also be touching on the premise of your mind's incredible power and your ability to create your reality. So, first up, a bit of a background about me. For those of you who do not know me, my name once again is Tanya Kotsos. After an amazing 11-year investment banking career in London, in 2007, I took the decision to leave it all behind me in order to fulfill my childhood dream of becoming a private investigator. Only this time of life's mysteries. And of all the mysteries, the human mind, and more specifically, consciousness, is by far the greatest and the one that has intrigued me as far back as I can remember. So I left London and moved to Greece, and a year later, in July of 2008, I created and launched the Mind Your Reality website, which led to publishing my first book in 2013, The Adventure of I. Thereafter, and in more recent years, I redesigned the website into what it is today, updated the articles, added new ones, and introduced personal coaching, all of which have led me to the launch of this podcast. Talk about cause and effect. I decided to launch the podcast primarily to provide an audio version of the articles found on the website, at least at this early stage. As the podcast progresses, I will dive deeper into various topics, and I welcome you from the start to contact me with topics you may want me to discuss. It is my earnest desire that the website, the book, and now this podcast will positively change your mindset and ultimately your experience of this wonderful game we call life. With this end in mind, the ultimate purpose of Mind Your Reality is for you to know yourself, your true self. By remembering your true self, the mighty I am, you can begin to consciously direct your mental world and in turn your physical world through what you imagine and the actions that follow. Everything becomes possible to the person who knows that they are both the sculptor and the marble that the sculptor shapes into what he imagines, that they are both the dreamer and the dream itself. Your true self is not someone outside of you that you must discover. It is you, always has been and always will be. To discover who you truly are, therefore, is to remember who you have always been. In the same vein, mind power is not something you must acquire. You already possess it in its full potential. You need only learn to apply it. Your mind is more powerful than perhaps you have ever dared to imagine. In fact, it is so powerful that when suitably directed by you, you can change your entire experience of physical reality. And it is actually quite simple, but do not be misled into thinking that it is easy to unlearn what you have been taught to believe to date. Learning to effectively and intelligently apply your mind power is arguably the single most important task you will ever undertake. And for the same reason, the rewards you reap will more than compensate you for the greatest of your efforts. Now, the premise of Mind Your Reality is founded on the scientific evidence that the underlying substance of the universe is energy, and that this energy is very much alive with consciousness or mind. Behind everything seen and unseen, you find consciousness, and more specifically, a single consciousness that is absolute in nature. This single consciousness goes by several names, one of them being the universal mind. Being absolute means that this consciousness is omnipresent or present everywhere at the same time in its entirety. Taking this to its final conclusion, you find that universal mind must be your mind in its entirety, not just part of it. What you think, universal mind thinks. What you desire, universal mind desires to the same degree. And since consciousness is behind reality, then your consciousness or mind is specifically behind your reality. In other words, your experience of reality is a projection of your consciousness, in the same way that your dreams are wholly a projection of your consciousness. This is why you can intentionally create your circumstances by intelligently directing your mind's power, and to maximize your experience of the game of life, you must learn to use your mind's tool called thought, while also learning the rules of the game. And the rules are just the universal laws that govern everything and everyone along otherwise unconscious lines, which I will discuss in detail in other podcasts. Put simply, manifesting or reality creation is about using your mind to change what you assume about yourself, about others, and about life, so that the actions you take, both mentally and physically, and the conditions that follow change to match those assumptions. Think about it this way. If you are not consciously directing your mind at will, you cannot say you're creating your reality at all, at least not intentionally, because the term creation implies varying degrees of conscious participation in the creating itself. So, if you are not directing your mind at will, then instead, reality appears to happen to you with its seemingly random progression of events. In fact, you have little advantage over a tree in the same way that a tree cannot consciously choose whether today it will grow and tomorrow it will not. Its life is wholly governed by the unconscious operations of the universal laws. In contrast, you can become self-aware of your consciousness and mind's power, and hence choose the direction of your mental activities. By knowing your true nature and the universal laws, you get to transform your life in any direction you choose, no matter how far away from your ideal you may deem yourself right now. You have the greatest freedom of all, the freedom of choice. Every day you get to choose your mindset. Every day you get to choose what to think, feel, believe, and assume is possible for you. Every day you get to choose what to imagine for yourself in the greatest workshop of all, that of your mind. Every day you get to choose the actions to take, even if it is just one step forward in favor of living a more fulfilling life. And as you choose wisely for yourself and others, your experience of reality will begin to resemble what it was always intended to be, the highest expression of a life well lived. It is through self-awareness, observation, self-discipline, and the application of knowledge that you find freedom. Joy is not a destination. It is an inner state of being, and it is your natural state. At this point, I will end our first podcast, which is really just the beginning of this journey of remembering who you truly are. I will leave you with my favorite quote by the great author of As a Man Thinketh, James Allen. This quote single-handedly captures all that I have said in a few lines. Here it is, and listen carefully. Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought, and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. And with these words in mind, I hope you have enjoyed our first podcast together. I welcome you to visit the website at www.mind-your-reality.com. There, you will find a large number of articles by category, as well as a number of tools, and I encourage you to study and use them. You can also subscribe to the newsletter and follow me on social media. And last, and most certainly not least, thank you for listening and for your time. And I hope you'll continue listening in the future. This has been your host, Tanya Kotsos. Be well always.